Thank you for joining us on this edition of News Today. Without delay, let's explore the headlines that are shaping the current news landscape. Government has announced to launch the Pradhanmantri Suryodaya Yojana, non-aligned movement summit centered around theme Deepening Cooperation for Shared Global Affluence held in Uganda. UN Secretary General has urged for global governance reform in the third summit of the G77 plus China. Centre has formed a committee for the equitable distribution of benefits amongst scheduled castes across the country. First meeting of the Social Audit Advisory Body was held. Poor adoption of climate-smart agriculture in South Asia, says Nature Climate Change Journal. Starting with the first news. Government has announced to launch the Pradhanmantri Suryodaya Yojana. Pradhanmantri Suryodaya Yojana aims to install solar rooftop systems on 1 crore houses to provide electricity to low and middle income individuals. It will reduce their electricity bills and offer additional income for surplus electricity generation. This scheme will also support the Grid Connected Solar Rooftop Program 2014. Also, national campaign will be started to mobilize residential segment consumers to adopt rooftop solar in large numbers. Now let's discuss about the Grid Connected Solar Rooftop Program. Its objective is to achieve a cumulative installed capacity of 40,000 megawatt by 2026. The current installed grid connected solar rooftop capacity is about 11 gigawatt. Its second phase was launched in 2019. The program's funding is provided under two components. Component A, in which central financial assistance or subsidy is provided to the residential electricity consumers. In Component B, DISCOMs are covered. The program comes under the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. Let's also discuss and understand about the solar rooftop system. A solar rooftop system consists of solar modules, solar inverters, and other electrical components such as meters and cables. Solar photovoltaic modules and allied electrical equipments are installed on residential and commercial rooftop and connected to the power grid. These are known as grid-connected rooftop photovoltaic systems. Moving on to the next news. Non-aligned movement summit centered around theme Deepening Cooperation for Shared Global Affluence held in Uganda. The non-aligned movement was formed during the Cold War as an organization of states with no formal alignment with the USA or the Soviet Union. It traces its origin to the Asia-Africa Conference of 1955 in Bandung, Indonesia, and the first non-aligned movement conference was held in 1961 in Belgrade, now capital city of Serbia. 10 principles of Bandung, like respect for sovereignty, equality of all races, non-interference in the internal affairs of states, etc., were adopted as its goals. The movement was led by leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru in India, Sukarno in Indonesia, Joseph Broz Tito in Yugoslavia, Jamal Abdel Nasser in Egypt, and Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana. The movement played an important role in the decolonization process. Presently, it has 120 member nations with 17 observer countries and 10 observer organizations. Now let's discuss its contemporary relevance. First, the non-aligned movement continues to hold contemporary relevance, particularly highlighted by Russia-Ukraine war that accentuates Cold War rivalries that led to the formation of non-aligned movement. Next, with its historical commitment to non-alignment, the non-aligned movement plays a crucial role in safeguarding the economic interests of third world nations and promoting South-South cooperation. Additionally, in the face of China's hegemonic ambitions in Asia, the non-aligned movement emerges as a platform offering India the opportunity to assume a leadership role in the continent, fostering a balanced and independent approach in global affairs. Moving on to the next news. UN Secretary General has urged for global governance reform in the third summit of the G77 plus China. First, let's start by discussing about Group of 77 or G77. It was established in 1964 by 77 developing countries, signatories of the Joint Declaration of the 77 Developing Countries, during the first session of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development in Geneva. It consists of more than 130 member countries, including India, representing 80% of the planet's population. It holds the significance of enabling countries of the South to articulate and promote their collective economic interests. Coming back, global governance involves managing international issues such as diplomacy, trade, finance, migration, and climate change through institutions, rules, and processes. Now let's understand the need for reform in global governance. The international system has been outdated. For example, the UN Security Council's composition does not reflect the reality of today's world. 5 permanent members, which are China, France, Russia, UK, and US, have the right to veto any resolution. Also, institutions like the World Trade Organization and International Monetary Funds fail to offer a global safety net for distressed developing countries and require greater inclusivity. There is also a rise in trust issues as multilateralism is believed to be losing the majority's trust. States are turning to different arenas like bilateral and plurilateral groupings, intensifying global political polarization. Moreover, digital technologies like artificial intelligence, 5G, and semiconductors require cross-border cooperation and global governance. Additionally, emerging global issues like conflicts, climate change, migration, macroeconomic instability, and cybersecurity can only be solved collectively. Now let's have a look at the initiatives taken for reforms. High-level Advisory Board on Effective Multilateralism was appointed by the UN Secretary General. Also, a new agenda for peace by the UN in 2023 recognizes the interlinked nature of many contemporary challenges. It is framed around the core principles of trust, solidarity, and universality. In our next news, Centre has formed a committee for the equitable distribution of benefits among scheduled castes across the country. Let's check out this development. A committee under Cabinet Secretary will formulate a methodology to ensure the fair distribution of benefits and initiatives among over 1,200 scheduled castes nationwide that have been crowded out by relatively forward ones. Although the committee cannot delve into questions of reservation, its constitution holds significance owing to the demand for subcategorization of scheduled castes. However, a 7-judge constitution bench of the Supreme Court is set to hear if states have power to subcategorize scheduled castes. Now let's look at the legal precedents on subcategorization of scheduled caste. In the case of E.V. Chinnaiya versus State of Andhra Pradesh, the Supreme Court held that the subcategorization of scheduled caste by state is violative of the right of equality as well as the Article 341 of the Constitution. The Article 341 gives the President the power to create a list of scheduled caste communities for reservation. In another case of State of Punjab versus Devinder Singh 2020, Supreme Court held that deciding on the quantum of benefits in the list of SC/STs already notified would not amount to tinkering with it and states could do it. Further, in Jarnail Singh versus Lakshmi Narayan Gupta case of 2018, the Supreme Court upheld the concept of creamy layer within scheduled castes too for reservation and promotion. Experts also believe that Article 16 Clause 4 of the Constitution already provided for states to create special laws for any backward classes it felt were underrepresented. Moving on to the next news. First meeting of the Social Audit Advisory Body was held. Social Audit Advisory Body is a first of its kind advisory body in India. It is set up in the National Institute of Social Defense or NISD. NISD functions under the Department of Social Justice and Empowerment, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. It will guide the ministry in institutionalizing social audits for its various schemes. It will promote capacity building of the members of the Social Justice Cell of the Social Audit Units. Now let's understand about social audit. Social audit is a process of examination and assessment of a program or scheme. It is conducted with the active involvement of people and comparing official records with actual ground realities. Key guiding principles of social audit are access to information, participation, and protection of citizens. Let's understand how social audit is conducted. First, the implementing agency initiates the process by providing orientation and sensitization to the stakeholders involved in the social audit. Next step involves the creation of a dedicated social audit team tasked with presenting audit procedures. In the next step, thorough verification is conducted through engagement with beneficiaries, inmates, stakeholders, and staff of the institutions under review. The findings are then compiled into a primary report, which is subject to validation. This involves presenting the report to relevant parties for scrutiny and confirmation of its accuracy. The final step involves presenting the validated report at a district level in the presence of all stakeholders. If we talk about implementation of social audit, then the Union government has introduced the provision of social audit in many flagship programs like Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. The Department of Social Justice and Empowerment has established the National Resource Cell for Social Audit to ensure social audit through dedicated social audit units at the state level. Meghalaya is the first state to operationalize a social audit law. Social audits hold significance as they promote transparency and accountability and strengthen institutions at the grassroots level. Lack of awareness among stakeholders, a pathetic attitude of implementing agency are some challenges faced in the pathway. In our next news, poor adoption of climate-smart agriculture in South Asia, says Nature Climate Change Journal. First, let's understand what climate-smart agriculture is. It is a set of agriculture practices and technologies which aims to boost productivity like using precision farming and smart crops, enhances resilience like using zero-budget natural farming and agroforestry, and reduces greenhouse gases emissions like using zero-tillage, permaculture, and organic farming. Now let's discuss some of the reasons for its low adoption. These reasons include weak organizational capacities like lack of access to extension services and limited integration to rural markets. Less incentives are given to climate-smart agriculture techniques in comparison to chemical fertilizers and pesticides. Less priority is given to evaluation and monitoring of climate-smart agriculture techniques, which limits its post-adoption follow-up. Farmers with more wealth and greater social networks are often prioritized for climate-smart agriculture demonstrations and provisioning. Now let's talk about some of the ways to promote climate-smart agriculture. First is the capacity building through awareness, training for officials, extension workers, and farmers. Further, incentives can be provided to farmers for supporting the enhancement of existing eco-friendly and sustainable indigenous technologies. Also, a collaborative approach is essential to forge international or regional partnerships for implementing initiatives like Youth for Green and Climate Resilient Agriculture Program of Food and Agriculture Organization. Additionally, promoting private capital investment and implementing micro-level policies further contribute to creating a sustainable and climate-smart agricultural landscape. India has also introduced some major initiatives for climate-smart agriculture. These are National Mission for Sustainable Agriculture, which is one of the missions under the National Action Plan on Climate Change, National Innovations in Climate Resilient Agriculture, Pradhanmantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, and Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana. The place in news for today is Nigeria with its capital Abuja. It is in the news as External Affairs Minister co-chaired the 6th Joint Commission meeting between India and Nigeria. Talking about its political features, the country is located on the west coast of Africa. It shares territorial boundaries with Niger in the north, Chad and Cameroon in the east, and Benin in the west. It shares maritime boundaries with the Gulf of Guinea of the Atlantic Ocean in the south. Talking about its geographical features, then its major mountain range is Cameroonian Highlands. Its highest point is Chabbal Wadi, and its major rivers are Niger, Benue, and Kaduna. As we conclude today's main news, let's have a look at some quick updates. The President conferred Pradhanmantri Rashtriya Bal Puraskar to 19 children. It is awarded annually by the Ministry of Women and Child Development. It honors children aged 5 to 18 for excellence in bravery, art and culture, environment, innovation, science and technology, social service, and sports that deserve national recognition. Awards include a medal, certificate, and citation booklet presented the week before Republic Day. Cameroon becomes the first country to routinely administer Mosquirix, the world's first malaria vaccine program for children. Mosquirix is a vaccine that is given to children from 5 months of age. It is a WHO-approved vaccine. It is made up of proteins of Plasmodium falciparum, parasites, and the hepatitis B virus. The Japanese spacecraft Smart Lander for investigating the moon landed on the moon, making Japan the 5th country to reach the lunar surface. The other 4 countries are India, United States, Russia, and China. Smart Lander for investigating the moon successfully demonstrated pinpoint technology for landing. This technology enables landing within 100 meters of a target. Because of achieving this feat, it is also referred as Moon Sniper. In Kangar Valley National Park, a first-of-its-kind landscape model will be implemented for restoration. The national park is located in the Bastar region of Chhattisgarh. Its forest type is tropical moist deciduous forest, and it lies in the transition zone of the southern limit of Sal forest and northern limit of teak forest. Wadke Bank ecosystem may be impacted by proposed exploration and development of oil and gas blocks. These blocks will be explored under the hydrocarbon exploration and licensing policy. Wadke Bank ecosystem lies south of Cape Comorin in the Kanyakumari district in Tamil Nadu. It is part of the Indian continental shelf. It is one of the most productive coastal areas in the world. The Odisha government requested the deployment of Kumki elephants from Tamil Nadu to address escalating human-elephant conflicts. Kumkis, trained captive elephants, excel in trapping, rescuing, and tranquilizing wild elephants. Their strategic deployment aims to mitigate damage to crops, human settlements, and minimize the risk to both human and elephant lives. Russia has accused Ukraine of an attack on a gas terminal at the Baltic port of Ust-Luga. The Baltic Sea encompasses the marine basins between Sweden, Finland, and the Central European mainland. It is the youngest sea on the planet, almost enclosed, experiencing near-Arctic conditions, and is one of the world's largest brackish waters. India-Kyrgyzstan Joint Special Forces exercise Khanjar has commenced in Himachal Pradesh, and second edition of the India-Egypt exercise Cyclone commenced in Egypt. Before we go, it's time to put your knowledge to test in today's segment of Test Your Learning. Thank you for joining us. We hope you have enjoyed this edition of News Today. To get the answers to today's quiz and to download the PDF of News Today, make sure to check out the links in the description below.